Hello, everyone. Thank you and welcome to the Bruce Bowling Building. My name is John Feuerbach. I'm a Senior Development Officer at the Department of Neighbor Development, and I want to welcome you on behalf of D&D, the Boston Planning Development Agency, but also the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan Oversight Committee Project Review Committee. And we're here for the purpose of continuing the community engagement for the public parcels in Dudley, that 4 parcels that we put out a recent request for proposal for development. So this meeting here is important to get That's just a snapshot. But before I get going, there's a couple things I want to say. D&D, the Neighbor Development Agency, is represented by a number of staff people here at today's meeting. We have Donald Wright, who's here. Just some basics as you come in. I assume everyone signed in on the sign-in sheet. Please do that. We have an agenda, which we have right here that takes us through what we want to do. The flip side of the agenda is the map of the 2 sites that we're going to be looking at today, 2147 Washington Street and 40-50 Warren Street. And then at the table, we also have some brief summary sheets that is a quick summary of the 2 proposals. Actually, it's the 2 sites, 2 proposals each for 2147 as well as for 40-50. And last but not least, in an effort to try to get as many comments from folks who are here, and you might not have an opportunity, or maybe you don't want to come to the microphone and make a comment or a question, we have comment sheets. So feel free to fill those out, and you could leave them with us, and it could pertain to any of the presentations that you can hear today. And while I'm on that point, if you just look at your agenda, at the bottom of the agenda, in the interest of getting comments from folks, there's a couple of other opportunities. One, if you email either Joe Backer or myself, and we're identified at the bottom of the agenda, we could log in comments, and then you can also go to the D&D websites that are identified. For the purpose of continuing the public engagement, we have a comment period that we've extended to April 29th. So we can get some comments and questions at this meeting. We have the comment cards, but then you can also log in comments at the D&D website up until the 29th. I mentioned that D&D and the BPDA is working with the Project Review Committee. The Project Review Committee is an offshoot of the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan. We have 15 people on the PRC, and they are responsible for reviewing all the applications, doing as much as possible to do community outreach and engagement to help them evaluate the applications, and then ultimately make a recommendation to the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan on yay or nay on proposals. Once that's done with the Oversight Committee, then the Oversight Committee recommendation would be a recommendation to DND's Public Facilities Commission. Ultimately, since they are City of Boston land parcels, the DND's Public Facilities Commission would be doing the designation. So I just want to recognize all the Oversight Committee representatives. Charlotte Nelson, Norm Stembridge, Dorothea Jones, Sue Sullivan, Valeda Britton, Valeda Britton, Fred Fairfield, Art Gordon, Jonathan Napoli, Brian Keith, Demetrio Salapoglu, Erica Steves, Tracy Booth, Sophia Transtamar, Hossein Ali, Bridget Wallace, and then John Ellertson and Rodney Singleton. D&D and the BPGA has been working very closely with the PRC in evaluating the proposals. So it's great that we're all here. And I just wanted to give an opportunity for a PRC member to just make a note or a statement about the role that the PRC is playing. And Art Gordon has volunteered.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Everybody had their cups of coffee, ready to engage in discussion this morning. My name is Art Gordon. I am on the PRC. I am a resident of Roxbury. I'm also a pastor of one of the local churches here. This PRC committee has been working very diligently and working very hard as we've reviewed many of these different proposals. I think what's important for us to be mindful of this morning is that we need as much community input as possible. We don't want to make decisions thinking what people believe or what people want. It's always good to hear those comments. So if you could make those comments either here or in your notes or even on the website, that would be very helpful to us as we continue to work hard and capitalize on this moment of putting project development here that's going to be beneficial for this community, for residents, and for businesses as well. Thank you, and let's ready for discussion.
Thank you, Art. A couple things I forgot. Jessica Boatwright's here from D&D. Sorry, Jessica. And as well as Neighborhood Services, Jessica Thomas. I don't know if Jessica's here. She's been really important. She's the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. She's been a great help. And then Joshua McFadden, who was in Neighborhood Services. Most people probably know him. He's moved on to Economic Development. I don't know if Joshua's here, but he's been really, really helpful. We have a microphone here. Hopefully technology is our friend. We got City Cable, who is taping this in our effort to enhance public engagement and to help people who maybe are not available for this meeting. This is streaming live, as well as we're going to have it on tape. So if you go to your agenda again and you want to log in to see each of the proposals, you want to see the comment sheet, we'll also have this. So if you got a slow day tomorrow, actually not tomorrow, it'll be too soon, but maybe next week you got a slow day and you want to check out the proposals, the presentations, they'll be there. Let me just quickly get to, so we talked about the agenda. Let's get into a brief background and process. The presentations will go in 15 minutes, and in 15 minutes, and we'll organize them 2147 Washington Street, 40-50 Warren Street, and then we'll do next steps. So right now, let me just quickly touch on the background. This slide here talks about what's Dudley Square. We all know it's the heart of Boston, busiest bus station, prime corridor for job creation, commerce, arts, culture, transit-oriented development. The BPGA working with, it was really with D&D, Roxbury Strategic Master Plan, and a massive interdepartmental effort started in 2016 on the process. Open houses, walking tours, charrettes, and a very intense visioning process, in essence, to get at what are the key values, what are the objectives that should guide development in the square. These were put into a request for proposal format. They were approved by the Roxbury Strategic Oversight Committee, and we have the request for proposals. So what you see here, we're focusing on the two sites to the far right, 2147 Washington Street and 40-50 Warren Street. I believe it was February 23rd, we had a similar meeting right here where we focused on 135 Dudley, which is the former police station site, and 7581 Dudley. So when we talk about Plan Dudley, we're talking about those 4 public sites, although we're just focusing on 2147 today and 40-50 Warren Street. So as I mentioned, with resident comment from all of the charrettes and the visioning, and with PRC input, or Oversight Committee input, we issued the request for proposal in July 2018, and we got proposals in October of 2018. What was called out in the request for proposal? Housing, both ownership and rental, and a mix of affordability. And there was actually an emphasis on deep affordability in the request for proposal. Retail, arts, cultural, and entertainment uses, local small business growth and job opportunities. There was strong emphasis on diversity and inclusion, minority and women-owned business involvement in not just the teams, but also in the proposed players on the jobs and all the subcontractors. Sustainable development, green development, there was a whole section on that. Public, civic open space, public art. There was a little section on development without displacement, community benefits. So that is the background of where we are. For the 2147, we have 2 applications, and then for 40-50 Warren Street, we have 2 applications. So just to reiterate, the purpose of today's meeting is to have the developers present their plan, opportunity for questions and comments, and there. So I just want to restate, we're committed to public engagement. I speak on behalf of the city, but also the PRC. What have we tried to do to increase that community engagement? From the moment we got the proposals, we brought them out to the bowling building. So anyone who's come through the bowling building in the lobby, we've had the easels with all of the proposals. So that's been an opportunity to for folks to see that, to see the proposals, and then to engage on our website. We have the D&D website that is listed on the agenda. That's an opportunity for folks to log in, see the request for proposal, see the applications, do a comment. Development presentations, comment sheets, and then the comment period. So again, we're trying to do our best to get resident input to help not only the city, but also the PRC when we're evaluating our proposals. So with that, just to reiterate, 15-minute presentation. I'll be working the time clock, and then we'll have 15 minutes for questions. Just a point of order, all of the applicants are allowed into the hall here, and in fact, they're here, but they can only speak when it's their opportunity during the presentation. So for example, if developer A is presenting, developer B can't raise their hand or try to come up and make a comment on something. So if we can just keep that in mind. So unless there's any questions, why don't we, I want to introduce the New Atlantic team and Dream Collaborative.
Thank you, John. Good morning. Oops, let me just tilt this way a little bit. So my name is Gregory Minot. I am the principal of Dream Collaborative. We are an architecture and development firm here in Boston. We are a leader in diversity in our field, and we actually employ several people in this community, several architects that work in our firm. I'm here today with our development, design, and construction team. There are several folks from our team in the audience. I just want to recognize Troy DePisa, who is my business partner, and also Lauren Neubauer, who has been passing out the flyers on our products for anyone who didn't get one. Also, Brian Golson from New Atlantic Development is our development partner. Bill Madsen Hardy, also from New Atlantic Development. Sarah Kudra and Joanna Marty, who are two of our architects who worked on our proposal. Jane Kaplan from Kaplan Construction is here today, and Deb Myers from DMLA Architecture. There are a lot of familiar faces in the room, and we're happy to be here and proud to be part of this community. So our goal for this project is to achieve two main objectives. The first one is to create 74 residential units to give more choice to existing residents while welcoming new neighbors. Secondly is to be a vehicle for economic development at a time when businesses are closing in Dudley Square. Our goal is to create new jobs and incubate new businesses. In terms of economic development, we have, so Haley House, I just want to recognize them because before we put pen to paper on this proposal, Bing Broderick from Haley House approached us and he outlined some development goals for this site, which we wholeheartedly embraced. Some of the goals they had is, you know, with, I guess, whoever gets designated, but again, we embraced these goals, was to be a significant formal partner in the development, to be able to increase their current seating capacity in their restaurant, in their cafe from 28 to 100 seats, and to have outdoor dining space, and several other objectives that they outlined in this document. And this is really what guided our creation of our proposal that I'll present today. And there are several components which I'll get into more detail as we go through the presentation. So I just want to point out, you know, our commitment to Roxbury did not start yesterday. A lot of you in this room, we know quite well. We've been a stakeholder in this community for the past 15 years. Myself, as an immigrant from Jamaica, I found a home in Roxbury as part of the West Indian diaspora. I've worked with local businesses while serving on Dudley Square Main Streets Board, working with Freedom House to increase graduation rates for area youth, and advocating for equitable development by convening talks at Hibernian Hall, among other initiatives. So, you know, we really care deeply about this community. We've assembled a team led by Dream Collaborative and New Atlantic Development, and we have a proven track record of creating affordable housing projects at this scale in Roxbury and in surrounding communities. One of the goals that we have for this project is to really use it as a vehicle for creating opportunities for minorities and women businesses throughout the life cycle of the project. So again, we take great pride in being part of this community. And for the last 10 years, we've been working on several projects, some of which are sort of highlighted at the top. And in addition, our role on the project specifically as Dream Collaborative, we're going to be the project architects on the project, and we're also a 50-50 development partner with New Atlantic Development. So I'll allow Brian from New Atlantic Development to come up to speak briefly about their role on the project.
Good morning. I just want to take a minute and tell you about the work that New Atlantic has been involved with in Dudley. Closer. And the surrounding neighborhoods. In partnership with Madison Park, New Atlantic was responsible for the redevelopment of Hibernian Hall, and we created the city's first 100% affordable assisted living community at 25 Ruggles, right behind this site at the old Lafayette School. And right now, together with Dream, we're working with the Pleasant Hill Missionary Baptist Church to help foster and further their mission. And those are the types of projects that we typically get involved in. They're sort of really thorny, difficult projects that have complex programs and complicated financing, but that's what we do, and it's what we're known for throughout the city. And it's what we did at the Blessed Sacrament campus in JP, and at Art Block in the South End and the other artist communities that we've developed around the city in partnership with D&D. And it's what we hope to accomplish on this site as well with your help through a strong and robust community engagement process. We want to hear from you so we can create a building that serves as a beacon for the community and really works for the needs of the current residents in Roxbury and serves the needs of the local artists and entrepreneurs, and really most critically works for the current and the future needs of Haley House. And we look forward to working with you to make that happen. So I'll turn it back to Greg.
Thank you, Brian. And so what you heard from Brian was really an unparalleled dedication to this community, and you'll hear that again and again throughout the presentation from our different team members. So one of the goals that we had, I'll speak a little bit about the design of the project now. In terms of the scale, we wanted to create a project that fits into the scale of the neighborhood, that wasn't towering over the neighborhood, didn't create unnecessary shadows on the abutters, and really one that celebrated the Roxbury Cultural District, creating a new arts and cultural asset to the neighborhood in addition to new residential units. So one could imagine as a destination for a project, one could come to Black Market in the morning, go across to Haley House in the afternoon to have lunch, visit other businesses in the neighborhood, and then come back to the project in the evening for a performance or to just relax in the courtyard. And I'll share more about that as we go through the presentation. So just to orient you, our sites in the orange color there. Washington Street, with a lot of street frontage on Washington Street, which we took advantage of. Currently, there are parking lots, and we're going to be strengthening that street wall. Across the street is Black Market, and Haley House is pointed out there. So just want to take a little bit, just briefly touch on something that makes our proposal unique. So in the sort of dark blue color where it says City of Boston is the parcels that are part of the RFP. Also Haley House, in our proposal will remain intact. The existing brick building that's there. And then what's unique is that the light blue color is land that's owned by Haley House, which we are also building on as part of our proposal. And we met with Haley House several times as we developed the concept for the building, and they really were receptive to this concept. In terms of building organization, we have a lower level parking levels that's below grade for both long-term and short-term parking for Haley House Cafe, and long-term parking for the residents. Above that, we have a commercial level, then 5 residential floors above that, and a roof and garden amenity above that. And the mix of residential is it's rental, and it's also condos. We really wanted home ownership to be a key part of this project to build equity for residents. The loft-like units will range in size from 410 square feet to 1,200 square feet. And regardless of the level of affordability, all of the units will have the same amenities. So this is a close-up look at the ground floor layout. What we've done is in the areas along Washington Street, we have 2 retail spaces, one of which will be a dedicated space for Haley House, which they will own. And that will allow them to increase the capacity of their cafe operations. Again, we are keeping existing Haley House intact, and they'll be using that for other of their uses. We also have along Washington Street 1,400 square feet of flexible retail that is subdivisible into smaller spaces to encourage entrepreneurship for smaller entrepreneurs as well. We also, as part of the project, have 7 individual work-only studios. This is a key component to the project because we are, again, it's focused on the creative economy as part of the project and really creating opportunities for artists in the project. So those work studios will be dedicated to them and will range in size from 197 square feet to 333 square feet. Okay. We also have a gallery space as well, and then there's a courtyard that and co-working space that's part of the project. Here's a shot of the courtyard, the inner courtyard that's created by the project, and our goal here is to create a destination for the community that brings together working artists, residents, cafe patrons, and offer art exhibitions, opportunities for pop-up shows, pop-up shops and things like that. The project will be LEED Gold certified, and will incorporate a lot of sustainable design features, ample bicycle parking, electric vehicle charging stations. There'll be a roof garden as well for community gardening, and part of that will be used by Haley House for produce for their restaurant. This is elevation looking across the street from the project. And we have, again, a variety of, a wide range of affordability across the housing types. Our goal, again, is to create entrepreneurship opportunities at affordable rents, as you can see, and we can talk in more detail about those. I'll allow Jane Kaplan from Kaplan Construction to talk a little bit about our construction program.
I'll be brief. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jane Kaplan-Peck, and I'm one of the owners, the majority owner of Kaplan Construction. We're a WBE company in Brookline, a family-owned business that had been in business for 43 years, started by my parents. We built a number of Boston Plan projects recently. To name a few, St. Botolph Terrace in the South End, where 74% of our total worker hours were by minorities. Lena Park Community Center in Mattapan, which created over $700,000 in businesses for MBEs and WBEs. The Bornstein and Pearl Food Production Center in Dorchester, which exceeded every single hiring requirement, and most notably, which is something I'm most proud of, granted 1/3 of our total contracts to women-owned businesses. And most recently, we completed 9 William Street in Dudley Square, where our client, Madison Park Development Corp., stated that our hiring numbers were one of the highest in the state. For each project we do in Boston, we strive to hit and even surpass all hiring goals. We take diversity very seriously, and our commitment trickles down to our subcontractors, vendors, and suppliers. Strategies we use to hit these numbers are listed here. We do outreach, we put signs up at job sites and accept walk-in applications. We also work with outlets listed above to try to get more applicants and more resources that we can utilize as a company, and our subcontractors can as well. We have strong relationships with many WBEs and MBEs that we continually utilize. Finally, as a women-owned business, the potential of being on a project team that mandates the use of MBEs and WBEs is particularly exciting for us. We fully support these untapped markets and hope to help develop them in the world of construction and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. Oops. Again, there are several community benefits to this project. One, is, we're really prioritizing the success of Haley House as they come out of their hiatus, and our plans to re-engage with them. We're bringing new market tax credits to the project to subsidize the commercial spaces to make it as affordable as possible. We have an allocation of our budget to help with fit out for a new business that wants to come into the space, or other uses that we could determine together with the community, and several other benefits. we'd love to work with you on this project. We know this is just the beginning. This is our initial vision, and we expect that it will be a robust dialogue, and that throughout the process, we expect to be flexible and amenable to feedback, and produce a project that really benefits the community. So thanks so much for listening this morning.
Thank you, New Atlantic, and great job, 15 minutes. Very good. Before we get to the questions, I just want to welcome and introduce Councillor Janey. Thank you. And second, all the PowerPoints presentations that you see here today, the D&D, working with the PRC, will make sure that we have them available on D&D's website, so that if you feel as though anything has flown by you here and you got a question, you may want to have that help you in your comment period, you could look to the D&D website. So we'll make sure we get that. Just give us like early next week to do that. So now let's start the 15-minute time period. As I mentioned, we're being taped and filmed by the City Cable. In order to record the comments and questions, anyone who's got a question or comment, why don't you come on up here and we'll take it from there. And before we get into the comment question, most people might think questions are really, really good, but the comments are just as important. Is it something that you observe from a particular plan that you think is important, that, okay, it might be important to that particular applicant, but I think it's important for the PRC and us to know that, because if for some reason that applicant isn't selected, it's a value that we can carry forward and use on other work. So if there's anyone with a comment or a question. Come on. Do you want to, can you come up to the microphone so we could? Yeah. You got the mic right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lessica. I would like to know about housing, disability without Section 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Repeat it again?
Yes, sorry.
I said disability without Section 8.
Okay.
Do you help that?
So,
Okay, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we have housing at different levels of affordability. So we have deep affordability, so up to 30% AMI. We have, and 60% on others. Are we gonna do that?
So the deeply affordable units, we're planning to have project-based subsidy, so you don't have to have a Section 8 certificate. You just have to qualify, be under 50% of median income, down to zero, and you would qualify for that. And we also have 10% accessible units as well. So combined, you'll have.
Yeah, Brian,
Yep.
or
And yeah, and 10% accessible units will be included.
Great. Any other comment or question? Come on.
Sorry to have my back to you. So my question is with respect to the charitable donation. I'm really interested in Madison Park High School and the opportunities that the kids can have with respect to training and construction. Have you envisioned doing anything with that, and would you envision doing anything with that? Because I'd really like to think that Madison Park High School kids get more recognition. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and I'll allow Nate to also comment on that. But yes, we would. We've actually already begun the process of reaching out to the school. We at Dream have regularly taken interns, high school. We engage a lot with the Boston Public School System, and every year we have at least 2 interns that come through our firm to get exposure to design, construction. As they're allowed, they're able to come on construction site as long as it doesn't create any liabilities. We really want to get more folks involved from the community in the design, construction, and development field. And I'll allow Nate to talk some specifics on that.
Sure. So I'm on the board of sorry, Associated Builders and Contractors, and we're working collaboratively with the high school to try to find ways for the Gould Institute, which is a component of ABC, to help provide training and some skills for those students to be able to come into the workforce. We provide co-ops and
that's specifically Madison Park?
specifically with Madison Park. There's other organizations as well, but also with Madison Park.
And were you also commenting or asking a question about the charitable donation? Did I hear you say? Yeah. So you know, we've committed to making that $50,000 charitable donation. We didn't specify who that would go to intentionally because, you know, realistically, anything that happens here, it's going to be a few years, you know, 2-3 years from now, right? To be realistic. So we want to hear from the community and at that time make a strategic decision about where to put that money that it will be most effective at that time rather than just pick something right now. But that's an absolutely appropriate type of use. Yeah.
Just want kind of to be, whoever the developer is, youth training with respect to trades and the like are really, really important.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Come on up, John. Here, come up here.
So you can bear with me here. Are we creating a throughway between this building and the City on the Hill building? Is that where traffic is coming in to go park?
So go to the mic. Greg.
So I'll just cycle through to another view here. So if you, we have a pedestrian connection here in between the retail that goes to that courtyard. And then here on this side of the building, we have a driveway that will go down to the underground parking. There's a sort of the grade declines pretty rapidly, and then we're tucking parking so it's not visible from the street below the.
So, but you can drive all the way back behind the building?
You can.
Okay. So what is the plan for the back parking lot there? Is that part of your development or not part of the development?
It's not part of our development. It's not part of the D&D parcels, and it's controlled by a different owner.
Okay, so is that where the City on the Hill parking is going to remain? Is back there? Is that the plan for that?
Yeah, we're not displacing any parking. Yeah, that's not on our site.
Okay.
You're not involved in that in any way.
No, we're not involved in any way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then on the other side of the building, how close are we to the 10 William Street building?
We are. We're going. You know where the property line is right now. So you'll see the Haley House building here. So we're pretty much in line with that.
Okay.
And so I think you're here, right, at the Urban Gardener.
Street building's the big one, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, we're not in any way blocking access here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we concerned about the shadows being created on the 10 William Street building?
So we looked at that carefully, and as part of the proposal, we intentionally didn't build a wall across here and was sensitive to what's happening in the courtyard and really creating light and air still to go between all the different buildings. You know, I would expect as we go through this process, we'll get more feedback and more specificity on shadow studies and things like that. So if there's a particular concern, we can certainly address it then.
Okay, last question. I see that you're providing a little bit of home ownership opportunities. As you know, here in Dudley Square, we have the lowest home ownership rates in the city and also the highest poverty rates, and the two are directly related. Is there an opportunity to provide more home ownership opportunity than what is currently in the pie?
Thank you. So we're currently providing 12 homeownership units. We strategically created the housing to pretty much hit the whole cross spectrum of levels of affordability for rental and condo for the project. We heard a lot of different voices. I'm not sure, it doesn't seem to be working, but hello? Are you hearing me? Okay. So what I was saying is that we were pretty intentional about creating affordability across the spectrum of income levels, both on the rental side and the condominium side. The rental, why is also an emphasis on rental, is because we are trying to create units for the creative economy, and they're not necessarily typical units. They allow folks to be able to live and also work their craft as well. And so we're trying to create as much opportunity as we can for entrepreneurs to have access to this type of housing. So.
Any other resident? Here, come on. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. So I wanted to ask a question in regards to the artists, both the artist studios and the artist live workspaces. Are the studios separate from the number of live workspaces that you have? And then the second question is, the live workspaces, do you have consideration for the amount of size, i.e. the square footage, the height of the doors, the additional ventilation that will be needed for artists?
Thank you. Great question. Yes, so in terms of the units, so we have 7 dedicated work-only studios on the ground floor. They'll have an oversized elevator from the garage straight up to the studios so that they can move in and out big pieces. They'll have large garage doors for easy access for people to visit and buy things. We'll also have a co-working space that will be all set up with the latest technology. In terms of the units themselves, the residential live-work units, they'll be oversized doors so that you can in a common area, so you can move through the building. And we're in the early stages in terms of engineering for the units, in terms of ventilation and things like that. But obviously, as we get into it, we'll be focused on those kind of issues to develop the concept for the live-work units.
Question? Here you go, Cynthia, right into the microphone.
My question is, how will you make sure workers of color are hired for your construction work?
Kaplan's done a number of projects that, fulfill and exceed the Boston plan, and we work with our subcontractors. There's weekly reports they provide. We have our staff on the job sites ensuring these reports are accurate. They basically, ensure we're hiring to fulfill and, in our Kaplan's goal, exceed the hiring requirements of workers of color, of local residents, of, women residents, women of color. Basically, all across the gamut, we really strive within the office and within our record keeping. If subs aren't doing it, they're not getting paid. So it is in their best interest for many reasons, but sometimes it boils down to this: if you want to be part of the project team, you're going to buy into the project plan, and that's part of the project plan. So we really ensure it that way.
Come on up. Thank you. We have approximately 2.5 minutes, so we'll then.
One of the big problems is the raising rents and pushing people out. What about the existing businesses? Like where this property is, you have the hair store, you have City on the Hill. And also, what is your version of affordable?
Yes.
So the follow-up question was actual rents and costs for the condos.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the commercial spaces. So you'll see the rents for the work studios are $410 to $693 per month. The shared workspace is $153 a month. In terms of the sales prices for the condos, you'll see that there's a range, from 151,000 for a one-bedroom at 70% AMI, up to 680,000 for a three-bedroom. In terms of the net rents, we have studios at different levels of affordability. Here, the lowest is at $457 a month, all the way up to $1,650 a month. And so again, we're catering to the sort of the entire economic spectrum here as well. Okay, I'll ask Brian Bill to come up and talk about that briefly.
Could you repeat the question and I can repeat it? Yeah, I mean, Section 8 would be accepted in any unit, and the payment standard from the Housing Authority exceeds all of these rents.
So I have 15 minutes up. Oh, Chuck, okay, so one last question here, and then we'll move on to the next presentation. Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, the question I have relates to this development, but the other developments that are going to be speaking this morning. The City of Boston put in the request for proposals one section called minimum submission requirements, and under that is a good job strategy plan. It asks that you develop a narrative that explains how your projects relate in terms of jobs to the community. I think you've done that. There's a part, though, that you seem to not have touched, and it reads, in addition, the respondent should explain how their performance against these commitments, the commitments to job standards, how your, standards listed below, this should be made clear in the response and in the alternative commitment that you should be making. The other part of that is that, let me go back up the top. In addition, the respondent should explain how their performance against these commitments will be made public, evaluated, and enforced in the years after the construction is completed. And the concern is that while we're talking about jobs now, the importance is that they're really focused on once the project gets started. And so the question is, how does the development plan to inform the public about the job opportunities that are there, what's happening with the job opportunities, evaluate their, as well as evaluate their progress?
So this slide was sort of our touching on that topic, but our hiring and outreach at a minimum is listed here. These are a majority of the resources we use. and making sure that we're reaching out to the local community and hiring from that community and creating job opportunities. If there are others not listed here, we would love to have your input and who else we might be able to reach out to. What we don't have here is, we have ads going to local newspapers. We have applications, at least one, maybe two, right on the site fence for anybody who sort of walks in. They can fill out that application and drop it into a safe box that we, check daily for the most part. So, does that address your question, Chuck?
That's the framework. The question is, how do you evaluate your progress as you move into hiring people year after the year? How does the public know whether you're achieving those standards? And how will you evaluate whether you're meeting the requirements?
Our subs are required to report to us weekly. So we have a staff member who makes sure that they are reporting to us. We collect that data, put it into a spreadsheet, and are analyzing it on a weekly basis. How that gets publicized, we can work together to figure out how to do that. But
What about the permanent jobs?
the permanent jobs?
So I know we don't have a lot of time here, but I guess I would respond to that by clarifying that sort of in the long term for this project, we really see the partnership with Haley House, and our intentional structure is one where Haley House will really kind of be the long-term steward of the project, from its ownership of its space, and by admitting it as a partner on the entire rest of the development. And I think Haley House is a known commodity, and are very committed to all the things you are talking about, and they're going to be at the table on this project long term.
Thank you, everyone, for comments and questions to New Atlantic. Why don't we call that one to a close? We're running a little bit behind, but I think there were some very important questions that were asked and comments. I'm going to invite the second team up right now, New Urban Collaborative. They will have 15 minutes to present, and then we'll have the similar 15-minute question and comments.